Hello everyone! Today I'll show you 10 settings that I always change on a new Windows PC, starting of course with the Start menu and placing it where it belongs, in the left corner. Now this can be achieved by opening Taskbar settings and choosing to align it to the left. This also gives more real estate for pinned apps and makes the taskbar look less cramped. The next group of settings that is, in my opinion, super important has to do with File Explorer. It is best for security reasons to display the extensions of known file types. I always like to open File Explorer to this PC as I usually have a separate D drive where I organize my files. Also, here you can decrease the space between files and folders like it has been for many years. Another thing which I choose to enable is Show Hidden Files. That is, if I ever need to work with system-related stuff. Removing the checkboxes as well, though I'm not sure if by default they are on, but then this laptop has a touchscreen. And if you want, you can enable libraries, which are part of Windows 7. Alright, let's continue with a setting that is not very well known and has to do with some shortcuts you can place on the Start menu next to the Power button. Right-click in the area around the Power button for this context menu. Then, in Folders, you can add shortcuts to documents, downloads, etc. As you can see, it is very easy to go to these folders afterwards without even needing to open File Explorer first. Unfortunately, you cannot add your own shortcuts here, but at least for now I haven't felt the need to do so. Who knows, maybe there is a way to tweak this in the registry, and you can leave a comment if you know of something. Alright, time to move on to Windows Update. I like to be kept up to date because I can talk about new features on this channel. Another thing here that should be enabled are the updates of other Microsoft products such as Office or other components. And then there's this thing, delivery optimization, which I'm in the habit of turning off, partly because I don't want to receive corrupt or broken update packages from PCs around me, even though it's highly unlikely, and partly because from the days when I used old and slow computers, I didn't want to waste valuable computing resources sending packages to other PCs. Talking about resources, here's Task Manager, and Task Manager has a very convenient setting where you can put it to stay always on top of other windows. Don't assume it just crashed, it needs to reopen after you check the checkbox. And no matter what you do, apart from, I don't know, pressing Ctrl-Alt-Del, it'll be visible. And it's very convenient, like if you double click on a graph like so, I bet you didn't know it could do that, you can make it a widget and drag it to the corner, but then it's always on top so you can monitor usage and maybe debug something, for example. And while this ancient dual-core Pentium CPU is fighting for its life trying to record all of this, I suggest we open a browser. Could be any browser, Chrome, Firefox. This setting is not specific to Edge only and concerns the downloads. So instead of placing all files in the downloads folder first, with this setting enabled you will get a save as dialog every time you want to grab something off the internet. First, ensuring you are the one who wants to download it and not malware, and second, making your life a little easier by placing that file exactly where you want it to be. And if that file happens to be a text document, then this Notepad setting is exactly for you. See how Notepad always seems to keep your documents open even though you're closing it? Well, this is the new Notepad for you. If you don't want it to behave like that, you can open its settings and adjust them where it says Opening Notepad. In this way, you will make it work like the old Notepad, except that this one also supports tabs. If I'm brutally honest with you, I'm so used to the Windows 7 way of doing things that I simply can't be bothered with tabs, neither here nor in File Explorer. So, let's move on to one more setting concerning the taskbar. Well, a couple of settings actually. We will be playing around with some of the icons that appear on the taskbar, starting with the removal of widgets. I don't know who even uses that. I've always seen tutorials on how to disable it ASAP and whatnot. Well, here's how. You just toggle this in taskbar settings. Another icon which, as opposed to widgets, represents a rather more important feature for those of you who do care about their data and thus can be bothered with it, is the Safely Eject Devices icon. And I really want it to be easily accessible and not in the overflow menu. Simply drag it to the taskbar like this. And then, assuming it's in the mood of working and actually displaying something as opposed to right now, you can simply single click on it. And if it decides it's going to ruin your day with crappy messages about this and that using your device, well, here's a tutorial on how to eject external HDDs that are apparently used by some program. On a side note, it's been 30 years and Windows still does not have an option to forcefully close these mysterious processes that apparently use your USB stick or hard drive when it has been connected for more than like 15 minutes. Alright, let's brighten up a little with some personalization settings. This one makes the Windows Spotlight images that appear on your lock screen to also make their way to your desktop. It seems to be working so much better on the desktop as opposed to the lock screen, and it's practically flawless. I mean, Windows Spotlight on the lock screen has worked for me about 5% of the time, while this keeps on pumping new images as my wallpaper. And the final setting for today, well, it has to do with the desktop icons being rather small for my liking. You see, I don't keep a whole bunch of stuff on my desktop, just some random do-it-right-now type of things and the mandatory recycle bin icon, of course. So, I like to look at large-sized icons with all their little details, and that was especially true when using Windows 7. I mean, these icons were a joy to look at in their largest sizes, truly a work of art. And, if you're still watching, let me show you a little bonus setting, which is if you have a slow computer. I was one of these unfortunate souls for a painfully long time, during which I got rather creative in my approach to the aging hardware that, out of respect, I still own. This innocent setting here deep in Control Panel makes your potato a little more computer-like. And without going into details, I will wish you a great leisurely day with the piece of computing history that just keeps on giving and that refuses to break. Thank you so much for demonstrating such an unbelievable attention span watching this boring video, and if you feel especially enlightened by it, maybe you could leave a like or, who knows, subscribe to the channel.